I know what one of the problems was. Someone had mentioned that I wasn't on YouTube earlier. That's been fixed. Why is it so choppy? I might have to end the stream and start again. I don't know if that will cause an issue. We'll see. We'll let the YouTube people let me know if the frame rate is as bad as I'm seeing it right now. If I move my hand, is it really choppy? I'm watching my own stream right now to see what it looks like. It looks better. Well, hopefully we're writing code, so the quality doesn't matter too much. I do apologize. We're having some technical difficulties, everybody, trying to solve them. And I have no idea what to do. Some people saying it looks good. The quality in the cam is not important. Yeah, we should be able to read the code. Okay, we'll get started. Or we'll jump into things. So yeah, we're doing a, I just realized my son missed the sub, it to be recorded. Maybe I'll make, I was streaming to Twitch, but it hadn't gone to YouTube yet. I think, if I understand right. And then my son came in, he's sick, and he came in and was, yeah, I'll have to, oh, you can't even see it. Above that picture, there's a potato. It's a picture of a potato that he made, and it has a speech bubble saying sub to Kev, and it's been in my background forever. And I'm like, I don't think people see it. So he came in to introduce the sub to Kev potato is in the background. All right, we're going to get started in this. Just looking at where my YouTube thing was when I was waving just now, I'm wondering how far back in time we are. But yeah, I want to talk today a bit about the idea of CSS resets. And it's interesting because I'd mentioned, it was in a newsletter that I mentioned a CSS reset. And then somebody posted about it on Mastodon, and of all people, Eric Myers replied, which I thought was pretty cool. Just mentioning how, because I'd mentioned how modern CSS resets are opinionated. And he goes, back in the day, we wouldn't really have an opinionated reset. It was more the reset. The purpose of a reset was to be unopinionated, and it was more of a reboot that would actually be what had the opinion. So you'd reset to get things set up. And then after that, you'd come in with more of like your reboot to set things up for your own project. And then, yeah, go from there. So yeah, we're going to start. I'll put this in the description, and I do apologize for the crappy quality. I am recording this as well, so I'll probably won't put the replay live, but I'll put the recorded version of it up on YouTube for anyone who's watching. So I'll put this in the chat. This is sort of the baseline that I use most of the time for a reset. This is Andy Bell's modern CSS reset. He has the more modern here because he's updated it. First of all, the Piccalilli website has recently been redesigned and it looks really nice. So I'll mention that. But the main thing I wanted to talk about, and actually I just realized, no, we're good. Okay. I wasn't sure what you could see. I wasn't paying enough attention. Where is my OBS? There it is. That's what I want to keep on so I know that I'm not covering my face on anything important. So yeah, I think everybody can agree on the box sizing. So we're going to sort of build this out together and make a little bit of our own reset that we can use. I'll use everybody's input that's here as well. But we're going to do more than just create a reset as we go through this. I want to make something that's like a boilerplate for starting a project with a few useful things in there as well, including a few things. This here, prevent font size inflation, is kind of an annoying thing. This is for Safari. Let me see if I can actually find the blog article on that. Text size adjust. It was by Killian who pointed out, or as far as I know, Killian was the one who let everybody know we sort of need this. So I'll put that in the chat as well. This is back from 2022, and it's still relevant. where on iOS, sometimes the font sizes will actually end up bigger than we're planning on them. And so we can do this to prevent that from happening. And so here, yeah, he just goes over a whole bunch of different resets. Look at all these resets, and just mentions whether or not they include it or not. And that was at the time, 2022. So some of them might now, but yeah, important. You probably want that. It's not specific. It's when, yeah, inflated on mobile landscape devices. So you might randomly see it on iOS devices, depending on different things where it makes sense what they're trying to do. It's like if you go on an old website on a mobile device and the font size is small, and you have to zoom in to see stuff, it's to prevent that from happening. But as long as you've authored your styles well, you shouldn't have that problem. So you probably don't want that to happen. So that's what this one is for. This one's interesting from Andy, and this is where it is definitely something that's opinionated, in that he's only taking the margin off the bottom of things. And one thing I disagree with him on this is on the body. We're going to do this independently because I don't like having any margin on my body. So that's usually one of the changes I do make to this when I use it. And this one's interesting where it's only removing the margin from the bottom and not the top on anything, which is kind of at first I was like, oh, not sure about it. But the more I've experimented with it, I actually find this works really well. And I've started doing it. You could, if you wanted to, and again, we're talking about being opinionated in this, doing more than just a reset and all of that. So you could do something. I don't know if I would do it, but you could say like first child margin block start has a 0 as well. And then just anything that's the first child won't have a margin on the top either. Maybe. And of course you could do it the other way around. Like you could remove the margins from the top, and then this one would remove the margin from the bottom. It's an idea. I'll leave it commented out because I want to know your all opinion on this. I do see Mark suggesting, why bother with all of this when we could just do this instead? Right? And actually, I just realized I'm going to save this in a second. But yeah, if anyone's ever done this, there's a fun thing with that where you can actually see your styles. And if you had some JavaScript in here, I don't know, const, whatever, doesn't matter what we put here. Does it? Is that going to show up? I think if you had oh, that's just not working. Const test is equal to document.query selector, whatever. I don't think it matters. Do we star? Let's do a nice, we're starring everything. Is that going to show up there? I think if you had an inline script, normally like the script tag at the bottom, it would. If you have your title up here, head, hello, well, anything up here will show up. There we go. Oh, there's the script too. The script tag is showing up. Perfect. Oh, it's all under my head. I apologize. Let's go to the bottom. But yeah, you can see anything. So if you ever plan to do this, just know you have a lot of work ahead of you to get rid of. And you also will end up with the fun part of, let's say we didn't have that, or we'll get rid of this too. You paragraph times 10 with some, or just let's just do paragraph times 2. Hello world. And suddenly we have hello world going next to each other because these are now inline elements. Because the browser, it's the user agent styles that make things block. Everything is an inline element until like the initial value of everything is actually inline. So this sends it back there. Fun stuff. So I wouldn't suggest that for your reset. Let's save this. And also just change this over to presentation mode because it gives us a little bit more screen space. I will share the link for this when we're done too. So if anybody's curious. So yeah, if anybody has any opinions on if we did go this route of a margin block end, which is functionally the same as a margin bottom, would you want to have something like that to get rid of the top? Is that too heavy-handed? Are we selecting too much stuff? I don't know. So I'll leave that one commented out for now. And if anybody has any opinions, please let me know. This is another one that some people like and some people don't like, and there's different things on this. The first one is if we have a nav. So nav, or not a nav. Well, I'll start with the nav, and then a UL, and then an LI times 5, and then A, and then just we'll make a quick navigation. A lot of the time on this, we'll do a class of like nav list, let's say, and then we do our nav. Oh, we don't even need to now. We're gonna have a list style of none on that because we have a class here. Oh no, we'd want to do this. Role is equal to list, like that. And so this seems redundant because we have a UL and then we're putting a role of list on there. The problem is some screen readers won't announce a list as a list if you've done a list style of none on it. So one way that you can bring that back is by having a UL with a role of list, and then you could even do, like, by default, this could have a margin of 0 and padding of 0 or whatever you want on it at this stage. And then it sort of enforces semantics in a certain way. One thing, it's VoiceOver on Safari, the screen reader, that's known for this, where it stopped announcing list style none as lists. And part of it was because developers put too many things as lists. And so it's annoying for people using a screen reader, apparently. It's at least my understanding. If anybody's in the chat that can correct me on that, let me know. But then by doing it, but I think recently they actually changed that behavior, not across the board, but they have made it so any list that's directly inside of a navigation, you don't need that on anymore, I believe. Maybe we should find the docs on that to make sure, but I wouldn't even know what to search to find that. I'm pretty sure I read that though, but I might just be imagining it. But I'm pretty sure Safari, if it's in a nav, will treat a list as a list, even if you've styled it and done other things to it. There is another option too, which I forget the benefits or downsides, but another thing you could do instead of this, let's comment that one out. Another option you'd have is your UL of class, let's say, and an OL of class. We could do a list style and just do this instead. And then you can see the bullets have disappeared as well. And by doing it this way, you actually preserve the semantics of it as well. So it's just an empty string for your list style. Cool. I see Shresh asking for full stack projects. I'm definitely not the person for a full stack project. And please don't spam the chat. If margin 0, why do you need the additional on the H1, etc.? Oh, let's go back up and answer that. So margin 0 here on the body will only remove it from the body itself. It won't remove the margin from any other elements because margin isn't a inherited property. So if I don't do that, it's hard to see. I'm just going to make my font size bigger for a second. Font size is, I don't know, 5 rem. So you can just see the text is touching the edge of the page. If I turn that off, it's going to give it a little buffer of 8 pixels because the default is 8 for the body. So I always do this. You will see some people that just do a star of margin 0, padding 0. If that's the way you want to roll, you can. I personally don't do that though. Code Red Digital, you read about this one, the list style. Was there any benefits of doing it that way? If you remember, since you just read it in Manuel's cookbook. Is using bare CSS still worth it in big projects? I think so. I do all the time. I'm working on a pretty big project right now that I've decided it's not huge. It was sort of on the limit. I am using scope styling with it though. Does the value screen read, but none does not? So yeah, if you do a style, if you do this, it will still be announced as a list to a screen reader. Fresh Flame, I don't use Tailwind or Bootstrap these days, but it is very popular. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this one in here. So actually, I have run into problems with this though, where and the problem is just that you're putting the class on there, But then sometimes you have like a list that you want to be a fancy list, right? So you have, I don't know, you want to change something with it. You just have to give it a class and you have to put the list style back on. And I find it a little bit annoying to put list styles back on. So I'm actually going to, like, just as an example of that, like here, let's just do p times 3, put in some lorem, and then in the middle there, let's just bring in a list, ul li times 5 with some lorem. And you might have normal lists, but maybe you're going to have a class is equal to fancy list, right? Actually, let's try this because I don't remember the problem I had. Let's do our fancy list. But I think it's because if I do my fancy list, marker, is it like that? I always forget. And then content. I don't think if we have a list style like this, do we get a marker? Whoops, we should put a marker here. I think that has to, whoops. I think that has to be in quotations, right? Oh, you can still do it that way. Okay, so maybe this could work then. So you're just taking the list styles just becoming blank, but if you want to come in with custom markers, you still can. Okay, I'm going to leave it like this for now, but if anybody has any opinions on that, just let me know and we can make a change to that one. So I'm going to take this one off and we'll go with that for now. Does using images for list styles affect things? That's a good question. If I did it as the marker, I don't think that would get read out to a screen reader on the marker, the way I just did it. If you did it as a pseudo element with the before, I think then it might be. So you do want to be careful. Oh, that's a good. Okay, a couple of good things. One of them is, should we use modern CSS? Like here, should we do it like an is ul ol and then put a class here? Because that would be the exact same selector, but with modern CSS. That could work perfectly fine. You can see it's kicked in and it's working. So we could definitely do that. We could also do this as a where. The advantage of where is then there's no specificity. And even this will have some specificity because of the class. It's an attribute selector. So we could even do like a where here as well. So if ever you do need to have an even element selector, like, I don't know, you did something like a nav ul, you'd want this to be able to overwrite anything. So maybe this is the better approach of doing it. Possible. Oh, thank you for that. The content on the marker is not supported in Safari, but we can use the list style type instead. Thank you. I didn't realize it wasn't. Nilaj, sorry, a near channel member too. So first of all, thank you very much for your support and appreciate that. The other good question that came up was, is it worth putting everything in a layer? And I would, so there's two things here. If we're worried about the specificity, we could come through and do stuff like this, which makes for kind of weird looking stuff. So maybe it's better that we don't worry about specificity, and we can take that off. We don't worry about specificity, and we come up and we just do an at layer reset, and then just wrap everything in the layer. And if you don't know what layers are really cool because they allow us to create, like, the same way that we have like the different layers when you write CSS, right? You have our style sheets, you have the author style sheets, which we don't really worry about, and we have the user agent styles. Resets, we can enable us to create layers of stuff. And let's come here. We're going to put a really like okay, well, even this is a pretty high level selector. Like, this is a class or an attribute selector and an OL. So like, if we look at the specificity of this, it would be a 0, 1, 1 as far as the specificity. But I can come up to here anywhere and say UL, color is red. And even though this is lower specificity, it's working. The reason it's working is because this isn't in a layer and this is in a layer. If you were using layers, anything outside of those layers becomes higher importance. So anything in this technically would be like the lowest specificity. And if you are using lots of, like, you might be using different layers for different things. So you could have your at layer, we could define them all at the beginning. So you could say something like layout. I don't really know if this is the best way to do it, but layout components. I haven't played a lot with layers yet. Layout components, other stuff, whatever, and then reset. And this would also ensure that your reset is the lowest importance as well. Petro PZQI, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's super generous of you. What's it like in Sweden right now? I'm curious. I'm guessing your weather is similar to what we have here in Canada. It's currently like 17 degrees or something and a pretty nice day. Chris, welcome. I saw your message. I didn't reply back to you yet. I will write you back later though. You're right. I haven't been on Discord lately. So, but yeah, I'll write you back. So I see somebody saying, why not nav ul, nav li for the selector? Yeah, you could definitely do that. Right now, I'm just trying to come up with a selector. Like this would be for all, like a general reset, and then we would come in after to style things more. So yeah, if we're writing modern CSS, we can use layers. I don't know what, can I use layer? 93% support. Look at that. Better than I thought. We're going back. How far is the Safari? 15.4. It's 1% of devices here. I actually know Front-End Masters is using layers in production, and there's another site too that I came across that's using layers in production. The problem with using layers in production is it will break things if you don't have them. There is a polyfill for it that I haven't tested though. But with that level of support, you know what, we're gonna keep everything in our reset layer here. Should we call it reset or reboot? For those who missed at the beginning, because I don't think I was live on YouTube yet. The reason I'm even doing this live stream is I did a newsletter talking about just the opinionated resets that are out there and what I like to do, which was just modifying Andy's a bit depending on the project. And then somebody wrote about that on Mastodon, and then Eric Myers replied, who, if you don't know Eric, he's basically invented CSS resets, or at least has the most famous one ever. Just saying how generally a reset shouldn't be opinionated, and it's more of a reboot, or at least back in the day, that's how they saw it. Whereas a reset would be unopinionated to just get everything on the same page, and then the reboot is sort of you coming in with your opinions to add into that. So yeah, but I think I'm going to go with reset here just because that's what people are familiar with, but we could call it whatever we wanted, right? So if you have suggestions for another name there, let me know. What's the rationale for moving margin 0 from the star selector? So I don't like having a margin 0 on everything. I find it annoying, right? Because then when you do have paragraphs of text, you have to somehow bring them back. So let's just add more text here. P times 10, whoops, with some lorem. So like it's a little bit annoying having to do different things to reintroduce what was already working before. I prefer working in a way where I eliminate the problems. So one of the ways we can eliminate some of the problems is by taking a lot of the things where the extra margin, because you have a margin top and a margin bottom, which is annoying, especially when you change context these days, right? Because as soon as we throw let's just go on our body display grid, and then collapsing margins go away. Well, now nothing matters because I only have margins on the top of everything. Whereas if we had not done this, then we have no longer collapsing margins and our spacing becomes double, and just having margin top and bottom, like, it's annoying. So to me, the star one is just a little bit heavy-handed. When I agree there's a lot of things we don't want margins on, but it's usually you don't want margins on the top and the bottom, which is also why I said maybe we want to do this. We'll talk more about that. Maybe we'll circle back around to that idea after. In-house tech, I use SCSS. Oh, I scrolled a little bit. Uh-oh. I use SCSS for my projects. How would we be able to do the same thing with all the nesting? Would it just be the same? Yeah, it'd be exactly the same. I use SCSS still as well. Actually, I mean, for For this, I would leave it exactly the same. This would work in Sass currently. So Darren, wouldn't your reset have the highest importance? That would drive me nuts. Basically, this is going to come after the user agent styles, because you want to sort of, the whole point of what we're doing is trying to get things onto a good fertile ground, and then we're going to come in and write our own styles, right? So then I can come in with my body font. Family is, I don't know, system UI. And then we have a nicer font. Whereas if I had a different font in my reset and that had the highest importance, that would be a problem. So the way I'm seeing the reset is we're setting the stage to be able to write more CSS on top of that after a bit. Fred, the web guy, Ottawa, very nice city. I'm in Halifax now. I used to be in Montreal. Not that Can I Use doesn't take WebView into account for Android app development. Yeah, I mean there's limitations to Can I Use as well. Like just to show you, nothing is ever going to have amazing support, because if you say style here, like this is the HTML style element, it tells you 95% support, right? So what about, like, can we do like the strong tag? Right? Like that just shows you like you're never going to get 100, just because there's some of these browsers that it's not taking into account. It's like incomplete information on some stuff and other things. So strong. What about like Flex these days? It's probably higher than that. Like the fact that it's showing Flex is higher than your strong tag. It just shows you like be a little bit careful with the numbers here, and do definitely be aware of what you're developing for. Let me see. Just use flex on the parent, please. Don't do that. Wait, what? Oh, no, sorry. I spoke too fast there. When you say flex on the parent, what parent are you talking about? If it was getting the collapsing margins or the double margins, flex and grid would work the same there. Sorry, I'm a bit behind on the chat. And M, Kevin, a question. Ever seen a tutorial where a dashboard is designed that header footer that is static across different browser zoom, but the body adjusts to be scrollable? Fixed footers can generally be problematic, might be the reason why. They're hard to work around, is my guess. Chris, do you think we're going to, the only reason you're using a CSS is mixins, do you think after CSS comes up with the local mixin, we are going, so I use it for more than just the mixins. I use it for loops and maps and a few other things as well. So I don't know. It depends how you use it. You could say that style queries are the beginning of what mixins would be. And I could be wrong, but I think the style queries are what have opened up the door to mixins eventually. The proposal that Miriam has right now for mixins, I think, leverages how those work. Yeah, I do apologize for the quality of the stream. I don't know why it's so choppy. Thank you very much. Al the Powell. There we go. Al the Powell 78. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And it was your first ever super on a live stream. Thank you. I appreciate that. Separator between flex items that hides when they wrap. CSS can't be aware of when things wrap on its own. Should we include font size in initial? Yeah, I do. Actually, it's a good question. That we're going to get to. Carlos, is there a way to reset the columns in column count so WW can avoid break lines in the top of the columns? There's a way to prevent columns from breaking, like elements from breaking across columns, but I forget what it is. Yeah, we could do this if we wanted to. I find it looks prettier when you have the star. They're exactly the same thing, but I just find when the star is here, yeah, my OCD and me, it looks nicer. Luke, you're very welcome. Brent, you're hyped for style queries? Yeah. That video, I was a bit high level on it, so I sort of talked quickly. It was more about this is what we can do and not how we can do it, but it was pretty exciting. And the question about the column count, there's a break inside a void that you can use. Fred the Web Guy, light dark theme properties are still optional. So I guess here, should we do a color scheme, light, dark? Question. There's one problem with relying on this, which is just that you still need to, because in general, if you're using this, if you have a light and dark color scheme for your website, so this would just go based on color preference of the person's browser. So our system settings, my system settings are for dark theme, so it goes to a dark theme. If you do have a light and dark theme, you're supposed to also allow users to switch, because some people that are on light themes prefer dark themed websites and vice versa. And it could depend on the content as well. And then so you still have to build it into local storage or whatever. There's different ways that you could do it. And then you can still get the flash of like on style or on themed, like the wrong theme, every page load and stuff. So a few things to think about there. If we should include this in a reset or not, or a reboot or whatever we want to call this. Yeah, so if anybody has any opinions on if you would include that in this stage, let me know. The other thing, I did put the font, and I guess this is the other thing, is we could really treat the top like a reset and then come in with some more opinionated styles after. Because I do want to set some of these. This one I do also like setting, and I have a body selector right now. I'll put this in the chat just because it was a while ago that I was here. So I'm cherry picking from Andy Bell's Modern Reset at the moment. And if you want more on like all the different stuff here, like he goes through the entire post and explains why he does everything the way he does. So you definitely can do that. So we already have our body with a margin of 0, so we can add this. I think that's worth having. You could come in and say this is like a DVH or an SVH. I think for the min height on the body, just setting it as 100 VH is completely fine. You don't need this necessarily. It's just the amount of times I end up putting it. Having it in a reset does sort of make sense. Oops, that's not what we want. This one's also a good one. It's really right. Like H1 to H4, generally you want a smaller font size, and then you probably want it on like those little like buttons and inputs and labels and other stuff like that too. So we can come with this as well. What else are we going to steal? Oh, we're going to do two different things here. I'm going to steal this one from Andy. So that's my line height. We're going to come in with the text wrap of balance. We'll explain what that is in a second. I'm just trying to look what's down there. Okay. And here I'm going to say paragraph list item. And if anybody has suggestions for other things here, let me know. Maybe we'll do fig caption too. Fig caption. Text wrap pretty. Cool. So the text wrap balance, I don't have a heading in here. H1. Let's reset some styles. The text wrap balance will just make sure that when it's wrapping, it doesn't wrap, like make an ugly wrap. So if I turn that off, you'll see it's less balanced. Whereas if I turn it on, it keeps things more balanced in terms of how the line wrapping is happening. The text wrap balance, I don't know what it says in the spec, because I think it used to be a maximum of 3 lines of text. I've been told that it's more than that now, depending on the browser. So I don't know what the max lines are anymore. We could look it up, but I'm being lazy. And then the text wrap pretty here is for longer bits of text. So you can see here, this is an orphan right there. And if I turn that on, then we no longer have an orphan, because it makes sure that there's at least 2 words wrapping onto a new line instead of just having 1 word by itself. So both of these are just little nice typographic improvements we can make in our projects. And if the browser doesn't support it, even though browsers support text wrap pretty, I keep closing can I use. I should probably keep it open. It's only at 70%. It's only in Chromium. I didn't realize that. I thought one of the other ones had gone on to it. But it really doesn't matter if it's not supported. It's just a nice little progressive enhancement. So Marco, so I will mention that actually. Marco mentioning, instead of doing it this way, there's another way that you might see this, which is the before and after, there we go, after getting a box sizing inherit. I don't know if this would be useful with web components becoming a thing or not, and I broke something along the way here, but they sort of do the same thing, because your before and after are always something that's being inherited from, like, if we do this, then as soon as you add a pseudo element, it will inherit it, so it looks the same. But the idea with doing this is if you're bringing in any third-party things where you might need to adjust, like say it's something where they didn't assume that you did your box sizing border box, or if ever you need to switch it for an element for whatever reason, if you switch it on one element, the pseudo elements inside that will inherit the switch that you've made, which can be useful. I've ran into that so infrequently, I've stopped and just started doing this. But if you still, it doesn't hurt one way or the other by any means. Oh yeah, so I'll put that, Marco. This is, I remember that. That's the article where Chris explains it. Oh, it's with the star there. Sorry, I explained it wrong. Oh no, I didn't. Maybe I did. Whatever. This is how you want to do it. I'll put that link over on the YouTube chat as well. Luke, I might have. Oh, the balance. Yeah, the balance is great. Luca, I just built a website using calc instead of media queries just to see how it works. It looks good, but bad performance. Yeah, too many calcs for layout. I could see it being hard on the browser. The line height also depends on what font you're using, 100%. These are things that you would definitely want to change, but it's just to get us all in the front, get us started. But you definitely, even now, I pasted in that from Andy. I personally find, where did I put it? This, I find 1.6 or 1.7 a nice, the default's 1.4, which is really tight, but it balances it out for large fonts and small fonts. I usually start at 1.6 and then adjust it depending on the font that I'm using. But that's partially personal preference. I like loose line heights on things. Part of what I want to do with this, and we're going to get there in a bit, is also make this easier to customize. But we'll see that. We're not there yet. Forma side, you can write it, but you don't understand it. Could you? You don't understand? Do you mean like you understand the individual property value pairs, but you don't understand the language as a whole? Let me know if that's what you mean. Luke, thank you very much. I appreciate it. A third of a coffee. It's good enough. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Oh, there's another question. Was this, you'll see sometimes before and after this way. A long time ago, the spec didn't say that we had pseudo elements and we have pseudo classes. And at the very beginning, they both had single colons, and then the spec changed so that pseudo elements have pseudo classes are 1 colon and pseudo elements have 2 colons. So because some websites and way back in the day, this was used, if you want to support like IE6 or something, you'd probably want to do this. If you don't care, then just put the double one, is the big thing there. But yeah, you'll get slightly better browser support going the other way, but you'll be, most of the stuff I'm putting in here wouldn't be supported by those browsers anyway. Frozen Toy, setting the 1.1 on H4s will have ascender descenders and overshoot crash on a lot of typefaces. That's possible. Again, it really depends on the project. So, we could say we only want to go up to H3 or maybe even H2. Maybe you don't even want to do it. What I find is this sets things up in a decent direction, and you're probably doing a lot of styling on each one of these anyway, maybe. And then you'd adjust it. But if you think, it's easy enough to do that, and then you're not worried about your H4s, it depends on the font sizes and other stuff we're using, right? But yeah, some font sizes this could cause some big issues with. Oh, prefers reduced motion. So yeah, we could add both of those. So so let's make one of these links work just so we can explain what we're going to do here. Let's have this one go to bottom, and let's go to our last paragraph and just put an ID equals bottom. Now, where did I put that link? I put it on my second link for some reason. So if I click on the second link, and that should bring us to the bottom. Why doesn't that bring me to the bottom? What did I do wrong? Oh, don't put the hashtag down there. Right, there we go. Okay, so now I did that on a project yesterday that I was working on, and it took me like half an hour to figure it out. It's a little embarrassing. So let's come down to here while we're still in here. So we could say just HTML scroll behavior smooth, which makes things nicer because when we click, it scrolls down instead. If we're going to add that, I would definitely, we should do an @media prefers reduced motion, no preference to be able to do it. And then wrap all that, just because if somebody is opted out of that in their system preferences, it's nice to respect that. So now if we click on it, it will work. But if somebody's opted out of motion, not opted out, if they've opted in for reduced motion, at their OS level, we'll respect that, and then it will just jump. On that front, I think there's something in here for Andy's. We'll grab this. I don't know if this one needs any explanation, so we're just going to drop it in right here. And we can jump back to here. I'm going to grab that one too and paste it in. And I'm going to grab this one. I don't generally use that one, but I also get why. I get it. So maybe we're going to grab both. I'm just putting them all. We're gonna have to organize this a little bit. It's already getting messy. This is a cool one though with the target, so it sort of goes with what we just did. So, and I wouldn't put that inside this, so I'm going to put it on top because you want this to work whether or not it's smooth scrolling or not smooth scrolling, where we get a scroll margin block. So that just means when we click on it, actually that's not a good example. Let's do one for this, for the title. This one could be my title, and then ID equals title. So if I click on that one, we'll scroll down, but see how it's not like, one second. Let's turn this off. If I click on it, it's going to go like all the way. So the text is nudged up against the top of the viewport. Whereas if we do this, and it's using X, which is fun, though I have a different unit I like better. And then so it's leaving 5x distance here. And it's just a number that we probably want to change. So X is the height of the X unit. So, which is the height of your lowercase letters. So it's roughly the not even 5 lines of text, just like 5 things, however you want to look at it. But it will also be based on, like, if I look at, like, this is a big space, but that's because the scroll margin is on the target itself. So because it's on this, which is the target, it's based on that font size, which is kind of interesting. I kind of like doing something like a 1 or 2 LH, so it's line height, just because I don't know, in my brain it works better that way. So I'm basing it on the line height of the thing I'm scrolling to. And because sometimes it will be small text and sometimes it will be big text, I actually prefer doing a root line height here and making it a bit bigger. So it's like 5 lines of text, and it's not dependent on the font size of the thing I'm scrolling to. And so, yeah, it's going to leave roughly 5 lines of regular size text on top of it. And modern CSS for the win right there. This probably, RLH, I don't think it has very good support. Root line height. Yeah, not bad. Only Firefox is not supported. So one way you could also do a scroll margin block and do, like, I don't know, 32 pixels, something. I don't know. Come in with a well-supported one as a fallback, and then if that your syntax highlighter might get mad at you because you have the same property being declared twice, but it says this is your fallback and this is your other one. We don't need an add supports or anything. Could field sizing content on form elements be a thing for the reboot? Ooh, that's an interesting one. Maybe. We'll talk about that. I see I triggered some people when I mentioned IE6. Will overscroll work if you only set... So overscroll is a bit different. Overscrolls for if... Usually you'd only set overscroll if you have like an element inside that has scrolling. That could be something that's worth including as well. Cole asking if there's any need to cater to any version of Internet Explorer. I don't think so. Personally, no. Space Raygun. Space C Raygun. What about a reset with custom props? Ooh, you're ahead of the game. I was going to go there. Do or death. Why don't I focus on Sass? Mostly because everything I'm doing can be used in Sass without too much adaptation. And different people use different things. So, some people might be using Sass. I use Sass, so I get it. Other people use, different forms of CSS and JS. Other people use Tailwind. This is the easiest that anybody could take and use in the different ways that they might want to be able to use it. Hands, that would be really cool if we could do that, but no, we can't do it that way. He's just asking if I could do that instead, which would be really nice, but no, we can't. Gustavo, have I ever seen the CSS trick to make a wrapper with images in it responsive with only one line of code, column, without even setting it? Is it just... I've used columns before, so I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that would work. Sort of like a masonry layout almost. The only problem with using column is the direction of it goes down and then back to the top and then down instead of left to right. Oh, so, static method. So much better. There we go. Thank you for mentioning that. I looked too quickly. Thank you, Jocelyn. Hover button not disabled, cursor pointer. I'll copy that and bring it in. I think that's a bit of a waste of time. This is the selector. So cursor pointer on a button that can be hovered that's not disabled. Why not just do this? I don't see the benefit of doing the hover because it's not going to... If you're not using a device that hovers anyway, it doesn't... There's times where this can be useful. I just don't know... if you can tell me what the benefit of doing this is, that's cool. But I feel like it's overcomplicating it because that works. And actually, that's a good point. Would this be a better one than just saying cursor pointer on your buttons in general? Yeah, overscroll behavior is definitely another one that could be useful. Let's set up something so we can explain what that is. Let's put in scroller. And in there, we'll do a bunch of paragraphs once again, because that's what we're filling things up with. And let's come down here and say scroller has a height of 50 VH and an overflow of overflow Y of auto, I guess, is the better one. Did I not set that up properly? Oh, it's here. I was like, where is it? Did I put that at the bottom of the page? Not quite. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, better. Let's do a margin of 10 VH. VW is fine, just so we can see it better. Okay, So if ever you have an element on your page, and it's a bit behind my head, but if ever we have an element on the page and you're scrolling on that element, let's go on it. I'm scrolling down, and then when I get to the bottom, if I keep scrolling, oh, is this the browser default? Oh no, there you go. You can see if I keep scrolling enough, I eventually escape outside of the scrolling of this thing, and it scrolls the whole window down, which can be a little bit annoying. So you can do an over is it over scroll behavior? I see a few people mentioning. Whoops. Uh-oh, what did I click on? I don't know what I clicked on there. We're okay. Is it over scroll behavior? Oh, I think it is over scroll. I was waiting for it to autofill for me. Whenever the auto complete doesn't work, I get worried of contain. And if you have that, I believe, let's see if this is right. If I did it right. Yeah. Now, if I'm scrolling, like I'm scrolling, I don't escape out of the scroll of this box. And so no matter, as long as my mouse is on this, the scrolling of it won't hijack. It never leaves that. So I can't accidentally scroll other things on the page. So if you're doing something that has lots of potential, like we could just do that, right? We could also do, no, this is where a style query could be good because we could look for things that only have overflow auto on them to be able to steal. So this is something. Now, I guess the question is that something you want site-wide or not? Like, is this something you'd want to include everywhere, or is that something you'd add on a case-by-case basis? So let me know what you think on that. Has hover not after the not? I mean, you could do, no, you can't. The has wouldn't work there because has is looking for, you could do is button not disabled is hover. You could do that. Yeah, I think that would work. Or even, you don't even need that. You could just do hover. So you could do that. But again, the cursor is only going to change when it's on top of that element anyway. So I still, unless someone can tell me why you wouldn't want to do this, let me know. Yeah. So let's take this because I do think that could actually be a decent one to include. And I saw somebody mentioning here for the Safari issue with zooming in. Including select for the font inherit works. Yeah, I've got one there. I only did it for font size and font family, but I think that's okay. There's a bug with scroll margin and sticky block. I use scroll margin, and that's why I like it. Because if you have a sticky header, you can make sure that your things don't go underneath it. A monospaced code font family. So I think by default code is already just like monospace. So I don't know if we need to necessarily set a font. But that is one thing I wanted to, as we keep on coming here, we'll sort of go through this a bit more, but I wanted to make more than just a general reset, right? More of a boilerplate we could start with. So I do think it's worth having some things here. So you could have something like base font family. We could do that's a base font family. We could do a heading font family, and we could change the name of this if anyone wants. I'm open for suggestions. I'm just going to throw some stuff out there and then see what everybody else is saying. So say we do base font family, heading font family. We could say code font family. And we could start things off like, this is meant to be updated and changed, just make it really easy for people. So I think just using system UI for those is fine. And then here we could just say monospace, and then you come in and change it to what you want. I'm okay doing that. It just makes it so you don't have to go through and like hunt down the different pieces in here. And then I guess that does like open the question of like, how far do you want to go with that? This is sort of what I like Sass for, and not overdoing it just with a million custom properties. But you could come in, because I have these set as variables in like a separate file. that I can then get into. Speaking of which, my course where I talk about how to do that and a whole lot more is on sale right now. It's finally launching. I'm going to talk about it quickly. So it's beyond CSS. I'll put it in the chat, and it goes into that and a lot more. That does go into Sass. So we're not doing Sass today, but it's my course that, let's see how far down I can get here. Where's my module breakdown? I have one somewhere. There we go. So the fundamentals of Sass, but then it's like here, the architecture and build process, where I talk about setting things up a little bit more to have variables that, it's our separate file that controls everything. And then we eventually build out a design system theming. Oh, I have to update the page. That's not there anymore. It's all done. So the top, coming October, or October 1st, and it came out on October 1st, or the finished version is now. The top tier is currently on sale for this week only, and then that sale goes away. So if you want all the different pieces, it's there if you're interested in it. And if not, that's cool too. We're just writing some CSS today. I'm not a great salesperson, but Tom Jid is asking what this is doing. So for that, I would just come down, and where would we put that? We'll just come here and say code is font family var font family code. One thing I've started doing with these is being the names of them are getting longer and longer for me, just because I like them being as obvious as possible what they're being used for. Font size calc by default for HN and P. What's HN? Oh, all the headings on the paragraph. So I don't know if I'd want to include that here or not, but I'm so torn on, like, I've been playing with it more and more. Is setting up like responsive typography with Utopia is really good for this. Can I play with it? I wish they had an example on the page you could play with. Or it probably is their page that you can play with. I wouldn't be. Are they using it? They are. So like as you do this, your font size adjusts to the viewport. I find the font size, like, I don't know, is 16 too small? Because I find going up to 20 is really big. Anyway, I'm not sure. We could talk more about that in a little bit. I got the variable name wrong. Oh, because so yeah, we should do font family code. I think that makes more sense. Font family heading and font family base. It also makes it base. I'm doing this in CodePen so I can share it easily after. And actually, I mean, I'm saving regularly. Pres probably won't work. Can I share it? I don't know. Whatever. I'm going to drop it. Here, I know this isn't, and drop it there. I know this isn't, this is in my root. So like does this get included in the reset? I don't know. Does this get included somewhere else? Does it matter if it's out here, if it's only, because some stuff that would be in here would be getting used here? Is it make it, I don't know. Where's the best place to include that if you're using a layer? I haven't started using layers yet. I'd like to know opinions on that. Skills, or if we could do a fallback like that, that would be pretty cool. You can actually sort of do that. So I'm trying to think if I could test this in. So they're saying like they'd really like if we could do this. So one place that fallbacks are supported. No, okay, what I was thinking wouldn't work. Because we can do custom properties that have fallbacks. So they're saying like if the browser doesn't understand this, they use that one instead. That would be really cool. Then we just have to wait for fallback to get support across the board before we could use it though, which would be the problem. I was thinking for custom properties, because custom properties, you could do it, right? So I could say like body font family is, I don't know, var my font family, and then I could put a fallback here, system, some whatever, doesn't matter what this is. So if this exists, it will use that, and if it doesn't exist, it uses the fallback. The thing is, if my font family exists in any way, shape, or form, then it's going to use it even if it's an invalid value. So, you could put the number 7 here, and this doesn't care if it's a valid value or not. It just cares if my font family exists or not. So just to throw that out there. It'd be really cool. If it did, that would be really cool. Our line heights technically are responsive. I do know that, like, if you went with a widely responsive text, like if you had a font size that went from size 16 to size 36, your line height would you wouldn't be able to just go in with a set number, because 1.6 at the small sizes, which might work, would be way too big at big sizes, and vice versa if you did a tight line height. But if your font size goes from 16 to 18 and you're at a 1.6, I don't think it really matters too much. There'll be a slight difference, but like the line heights are relative to the font size already. So as long as you're not changing it at a crazy amount, I don't think it's the end of the world. Alternatively, you could build in some logic if it's really important. The only time I could see that actually being something that you'd really need to pay attention to is if you had a really big font size that had a lot of change going on between mobile and desktop, and just you're running into some issues with it. Yeah, I know I'm lagging. There's video problems. I can't solve them. I don't know what's happening. I do apologize. I wonder, is my mouse work? No, it's lagging everywhere. I don't know. I wish I could fix it. I have no idea what the problem is, but I will be putting hopefully, ooh, you know what? It is going to be laggy. Oh well, we're just going to get the final result after. I apologize. I hope the audio is okay. No, somebody's saying that the Twitch is pretty stable. So there's that. I haven't seen that one, Peter. We could go look at that. Is it this one? No, I don't think so. Does he have... Is it this one? The Minical Framework? Is this... If that's the... If you could put a... Oh, you might not be able to put a link. Let me know if that's the right one or not. I'll keep looking if not. To see if I can find... Because these look a little bit more... I'm going to look one more time. I found a manual, but that looks like it's also going to be too much information. I see a few different manuals. All right. So yeah, let's say we did that just so it's easier to change. So that means on the body, we would want to come in with a font family as well. Font family. Oh, okay. So this is actually, I used to always put my font family on the body. I now put my font family on my HTML element because I used the root line height before. And so I want to make sure that root line height is relative to this font family. Because it will change depending on your font family. So this would be my var font family. Did I call it body or base? Base. Okay. And then on our headings, we can say this is our font family, var font family heading. You could call that accent too. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. You could also have something where it's like font, and I do FF a lot too. So font family accent, right? And then here, this becomes your var font family accent, and build like different levels of... The top is more the abstract versions of stuff that then are getting used in more specific use cases lower down. I don't think I want to build something out quite that intense right now. I sort of want to set something that's a little bit easy to pick up and use without too much going on. Let's hit save. I see someone asking where we can find. This is what we have so far. What I've created so far. So you can dive in and play with it if you want. Oh, yes. I have a video coming on that tomorrow, Frozen Toy, sorry. Let's grab that. Ooh, with the math one there too. So this 100% should be in here. Let's just go down. I guess we'll put it right here. I'm probably going to move this up higher after. Let's hit save on it so it formats it, and let's take a look. So this is to make sure if you have you can even put table here, I think, right? Instead of just TD, it doesn't really matter. So if we have tabular data, math data, or a time, so this is more than what I've done before, but a time that has a date time that's actually like an actual time, you want to do a font variant numeric of tabular num. So let's set something up here so we can see why. table row, TD, and we'll just put some numbers in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where is this in my, oh, it's here. Okay, so I have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming in. And we could do another one that will do a 5 at the beginning. And let's just put 1, 1, 1. And let's make the font size bigger at the same time. So it's not actually working because, is it because of this? Or is it because of the font? 1, 1. Could be the font. The idea is it would line all your numbers. That should work, shouldn't it? Did I do something wrong? Just for fun, because if any of these is invalid, I know it won't work. But it is possible that the system UI font it's not supported with as well. I'm not 100% sure. But the idea is if you're in a TD that it's going to line up. It basically turns whatever font you're using into a monospace font. Needs a oh, that's a good one, Marco. Yeah, no, I would put that in. Well, I'll wait for chat to catch up on me why this one's not working, and we'll come up and here where I did this, I probably would also put a max width of something like a 65 ch or something to prevent our paragraphs from getting too long. Because if you have this, it's really hard to read text that goes all the way across a page like that. So putting a max width here, maybe 65 is a bit, I tend to go shorter on that. 75 tends to be probably the longest you'd want to let it get. So once again, I think this could be var text or body max width or something like that. And the ch character body max width is 65 ch. The ch character, if you don't know it, is characters. So it's roughly the width of a character, the 0 character. So it becomes roughly 75 characters long. So if you change your font size, it will adapt with it. 4 numbers after. Did I not have the same amount of numbers? Yeah, I have the same amount of numbers. Is it because of my comma? I don't think the comma would break it. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I did have the wrong number of numbers. Sorry. There we go. It is working. And if I make those all ones, because they're all narrow, then it's going to line up with the ones on top of it. And if we turn that off, that was stupid of me. I had the wrong number of characters. If we turn this off, they won't line up with each other anymore. Maybe they're still lining up with each other, aren't they? They appear to be, but that is the general idea with that. So we'll leave it in there. 1 second. I usually have a little thing that tells me that CodePen's updating. Oh, there we go. I can see that it's working now. Those ones are more spaced out. I think the red might have made it look more spaced out. I'm not sure. Whatever. I'll leave that on anyway because it should be working. But this. Amit, thank you for coming and joining in. Hope you're feeling better. All right, cool. I had some specific things I want to see. I created a Notion document with notes for myself that I didn't open before I started. So let me go and see if there's any of. Oh, I'm not logged into Notion there. 1 second. That's okay if it's on screen. Do live stream. What else did I want to cover? Oh yeah. Oh, I'm so happy that I saw that. Okay, 1 second. Okay. No, sorry. My dog's gonna bark for a minute because my other son just got home. Peter, search Codebin for great typography with modern CSS, or the Mike May reset. I'll take a look for it. And he's in the other Halifax. Welcome. Awesome. So okay. This is something that I think is like whatever your reset or reboot or what we want to call it, like this is the new one that should just be included everywhere from now on going forward, which actually I was going to put it on the star selector. We don't put it on the star selector. We just put it here. This is a progressive enhancement. It will not work in all browsers. I believe it's only the newest versions of Chromium. And it's one of the most exciting things that we've had in a long time. Very recent. It was 2 weeks ago, I think, I was reading about it. So it's whatever version. I don't know what version of Chrome we're on right now. What are we at? It was, I think, in 128 or 129 this came out. Maybe 127 at the earliest, which is interpolation size, allow keywords. And what that means is, let's select my H1. We're just going to do it on the H1 for the fun of it. Or we'll do the paragraph after. Let's go all the way down to the bottom here. H1 plus P, so we get the paragraph that's after my heading. Let's give it a background that's red so we can see it. Is red going to be too much? Let's do steel blue. Something that's less violent on our eyes. Okay, so we have a paragraph that's there. And I'm going to give this a height of 0. And then I'm going to say H1 hover plus P. It's going to be a height of auto. And overflow hidden, obviously. So that other paragraph is gone. We can't see it. And when we hover it, it comes and goes because we have the height. Transition height. 1 second. And it transitions to height auto. How long have people been waiting for that? So yeah, that's interpolate size, allow keywords. You put it on your HTML element and it will be site-wide automatically. Again, it's very new, so this is a progressive enhancement. But yeah, you can't ask for easier, right? It's an inherited property, so everything just inherits it from there. So if you did want to say like this is only going to be on certain elements, you could do that. But if ever, and yeah, it's pretty cool. This should also work. Where was that thing I did? And I tried doing this and I couldn't get it to work. Let's see if I can do it now. Calc size of auto plus 2 rem. I don't know if this is going to work. I tried doing it last time. I was testing stuff and it wasn't working. I can't get the calc size to work, and calc size should be working. But calc size is it? I'm pretty sure it's calc size. Calc size. I'm gonna look it up now. It is calc size. Because this was what I had my eyes on originally, because it opens up. Oh, look, Kyle talked about it recently on his blog. So calc size was the original one that was going to work. This is really slow. Is my internet just terrible? What's going on? I know people are saying it's laggy, but my internet should be fine. I don't get it. Okay, that's never going to load. That's fine. But anyway, calc size, I don't know how it works yet because I haven't used it. but it would allow you to use other things. And here I'm doing this to like a height auto and it's working. You could also do other things here. So we could say that the, let's say here, instead of the height, we're going to change the width. So we do width of fit content, or no, we'll do a width of 100 pixels. And that should make it 100 pixels. And then here, let's just make it a shorter paragraph. That's this paragraph here, right? This will take 1 second. And yeah, I was just double checking, but I am plugged into my internet, so it should work. So the height we don't need on there. Now I could say this is a width of fit content, and then this will be my width. And so now that should work. Let's see. Oh, I have to hover here. There we go. And it will, you can animate to all the intrinsic properties now. This isn't the best use cases for them, and it's causing layout shifts and other stuff. But yeah, so exciting that we can just do one line of CSS, and now you can animate everything. A few people saying they're using calc size and it's working. So obviously I'm doing something wrong. But it should be in Chrome 129. I think I'm on Chrome 29. Whoops, that's not the thing you have to click on. About Chrome. Yeah, I'm on 129. So I don't know. I'll figure it out eventually. Turn off the modem and dial it up again. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was one of the things I definitely wanted to talk about. I'm going to clean this up a little bit because it was a bit messy. And while I go through it, this I think is worth keeping. So this is another thing you could technically, like we could opt into this if we wanted to. I don't know. I don't know if this should be part. It's not really a reset if you're doing this. In my opinion, it's more we're getting a little bit more opinionated. But we'll keep those in there. That makes sense. So I don't know if you'd want, like, should the line height font family, like should the line heights be here too? Probably, right? Font family base LH line height. Do we do the whole thing? 1.6. And then heading line height. I'm curious if we do it here or if I do it here. But the buttons and inputs and stuff, you generally want that on there. I'm going to put it here. If anybody uses this, obviously this is, you can take this how you want. Font family, heading, line height. Use it however you'd like to use this. That's okay. Oh, that's the two places we need to put that. I put it on the body, right? Oh, I didn't. Var font family. I should have done FF instead of font family, but font family base line height. We can do it that way. I have can I use open, but people are saying it should work. Calc size. I think calc size came out before the other one that I looked at. Yeah, it should work. Oh, it just came out. So anyway, I don't know. I'm not going to stress too much about it because I have this. The other one would be a nice little bonus, but it wouldn't really work for what we're doing today anyway. I'll figure it out one day. So that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Nobody gave any opinions on this. I'm curious. Maybe I need more demo work to do. I'm going to put that on. I think it's useful. I don't know if it would necessarily be a problematic selector, so I'm going to put it on. That we definitely want to keep. Input text area select, inheriting font family stuff is always good. Is this worth just doing font inherit like that, or should we separate and have the two of them? Font inherit takes a little bit more than just doing the font. And actually, I'm going to move this one up just closer to here, just because we have the button input label there. That's fine. That one's good. I guess I'm going to move both of these up as well. I don't know why I'm moving these ones up necessarily, because then I feel like anyway, whatever. We got a lot of stuff in here. That's good. That's good. That's good. See, now I have more H1 stuff here, but then I have H1 stuff there. So I'll take you. Whatever. I'll leave it like this for now. It's fine. I'm just going to keep moving stuff in circles. If not, I can clean that up later. Okay. So this, oh, we never decided what I should do with that. So I'll leave this here where it commented out for now. The scroller, so I'll just put this in an @layer demo. Random demo stuff there that we're playing with. A boilerplate sort of like a starting file instead of just being some code that gets you started. There's a little bit more to it. Usually a boilerplate includes the HTML and other stuff to like start you off. I guess, I don't know, does it? But we're going to be doing a bit more because the next thing I want to do a while ago, so I'm going to do, let's do a few layers here. And the root, I think I'm going to leave outside of a layer, but I'm going to say an @layer of layout, and we'll do a reset up here as well. And just by putting them up here, it means that down here, you can put them in any order. It doesn't really matter. And here I'm going to do my @layer of layout. There's a thing that I created a while ago. I did a whole video on it, so I'm not going to deep dive how it works, but I'm going to call it primary layout. And it's instead of using a wrapper or a container, where you could do it on your body. I'm in CodePen, so I don't have it. I know some people don't like doing it on the body, so I'm just going to do a primary layout. And I'm going to do a simplified version of it for this video, but I have a much more robust version. And I know some other people that have actually made even more robust versions than what I've done. But we're going to say this is a display of grid, and I'm going to show you an easy way to make this after. But I want to explain it a bit. Grid template columns. So on the, we're going to have a full width start, which will be a min max of 0, 1 FR. And I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it down here, put one more line, except we're going to move this and say end. And if you haven't, I'm naming my grid lines, and you'll see why this could be beneficial in a minute. Then here, let's just do like 2 levels deep, and then we can generate more if we need. So here I'm going to do we'll say extra wide, or just do wide start. And then here we'll do a wide end, because I'm going to place my cursor at both places at once. And we're going to say, what are we going to say? Min max, and we should make custom properties for these, so we will. Let's just do 10 rem for now, and then 10 rem, and then we'll do our content here. So this would be our content start, and then our content end, and then this will get a min of 100%, comma, let's just say, I don't know, 900 pixels for now. We can come in with better values. And then we're going to say primary layout. Anything that's a direct child will get a grid column of content. So it's kind of nice now because we can just name the grid column and it's all going to fit on there. It looks like, oh no, I was like, I broke it, but you can see now this is sort of it's acting as my container, and it's holding all the content in the middle of my page within that area I have. The problem is, at small screen sizes, it is going to touch the edge of the viewport still. So up here, I can actually put a 1 rem, and over here I can put a 1 rem, and then that just means here I actually have to do a -2 rem, because we need the 100% minus the 2 rem on the sides, or you get overflow, and now you get a container. The advantage of doing this is I could come on my we'll come on this paragraph, or yeah, we'll come on this paragraph here, because it's easy to find, because it's this one, and I can say class is going to be equal to wide. It's not going to do anything now. And I wouldn't necessarily do it with classes all the time. I usually use data attributes, but we can say primary layout wide, and it's going to get a grid column of wide. And it's going to be exactly the same until we get to wider areas where it's allowed to go out wider. And just for now, actually, I have a max width on the paragraph, but we can say this has a background of Dodger blue, so we can actually see it. Oh, that's on the paragraph that has the max width on it. Width, just for now, just so we can see background Dodger blue, just so we can actually see that normally it would get max width. No, I can't break out of that paragraph setting I have. Is that because of my layers? I'm not sure. Okay, I know that it works. Let's just not do it on a paragraph. We'll change that paragraph to a div. And then we shouldn't need. I'm not sure why it's taking everything. Oh, because I was like, what's going on? I changed it to a div, but then I might want to close that div. There we go. So you can see it's now wide. And it's from here, like the wider distance that it's getting is 10 rem on both sides. So whatever value I put here is how much wider it can get. Now creating one of these can be a little bit hard, but somebody saw my original video and they created this. So this is Andy, sorry, not Andy, and Andrew Powell. I don't know how to say your last name, so I do apologize. But he made this generator for it, which is really cool. So you can give the content whatever names you want, give it whatever max values you want. You can add new ones, another one, another, I guess we'll do. You can put in the values for it and it will generate them all for you. You get a little preview of how they're going to work and you get everything set up with, this is the cool part, the custom properties that come with it. So you can put in the sizes you want. And so, yeah, it works really well. So I think I'm going to use this. I just wanted to explain a little bit how it worked. That's why I created it. But can I delete track? I think we're going to do a full width because I like having full width, a pop out, a content, and an inset. I like calling the inset narrow. So I'm going to call that one. So we're going to call it narrow. And then there's the space on the sides. He has it as 2 rem. That's fine. I think you can put any units you want here too. So if you wanted this to be like 700, or that'd be really big, 70 ch, I think that would work. Oh, look at that. They're the same. Oh no, did that break? Maybe I can't use ch. What if I did rem? I don't know if you can use other units here or not. Rem seems to work. 100 rem would be very big. I think it works. Or it could be that number is smaller than this number. Yeah, I think that's what it was. If this number can't be smaller than that number, that makes sense. Let's just do 1200, 1000, and that's fine, 1200 here. And then copy the code. The little copy button was under my head. I'm assuming that was a copy button. And then I can replace that with what I just generated. And it generates our classes for us. So full start, full end. The full start and full end here things can be useful just if you want to pull something only on one side and not the other side. So yeah, some cool ways of using it. Now the one, what's the class? That's page layout. I called mine primary layout and primary layout. Yeah, there we go. I don't know why this is getting taller, but there we go. Marco, you always mess it up doing it by hand, so do I. So yeah, thank you, Andrew, for creating that. It's super useful. The YouTube chat is super quiet for the amount of people here. It's kind of weird. I won't lie. Oh, maybe I just hadn't scrolled down. No, it is pretty quiet. That's fine though. So yeah, I wanted to include that. Now, what I don't know here, like these things I sort of like, can I format this? I like having these things sort of set here and then I think I'm going to leave that outside of the main route and just have that as part of the layout. But yeah, we'll leave it like that. People can do what they want with this. I don't even know if I'm going to use it exactly with what I'm doing. Another quick one, this would go under layout, and I think I'm going to do the complicated one at the bottom. I like having a grid flow class these days, where it's just a display of grid and then a gap of var grid flow gap, and then that can have a fallback of 1 rem. And this is just for components where you do nuke all the margins. You could even, for something like this, actually, it probably would be, because we have margins on stuff, saying margin 0. So all the direct children get no margins on it, and then you're just controlling it with the grid. Some people like doing flexbox with this and then changing the flex direction, sort of the same thing. Then you don't have to change the flex direction. So you do your cooking while watching. That's good. I see the hearts going off now, so I'm glad people are still here. So the grid flow, let's go and create something with that. Just really quick example. So say you came in with a card. Whoops, I always do that. Dot card, and then we have an H2, hello world, and then we get paragraph times 3 with a little bit of text. And then maybe a button at the bottom that's an on-style button. Click me. So let's move my head out of the way. So we're down here at the bottom. So my card, let's give it some styling so it doesn't look, oh, we should have put that inside my, it doesn't really, yeah, we'll drop that in here. Oh, you know what? CodePen's going to keep jumping to the top of the page. So we're going to put this at the very top of the page instead, so it doesn't keep jumping. So I have my card there. Let's make it so we can actually see my card. We'll go back down to the demo stuff I have at the bottom. Dot card can have a background of, let's just do white, color black, so we can actually see it. Padding 1 rem. The problem is you can see like the spacing is kind of weird. Like here, there's no space between this and this. It's not the end of the world. If we had images also, there'd be, let's add a small image, assets, photos. There we go. Copy image small. Let's put the image here for some reason. Actually, the spacing, yeah, the spacing would be a little bit off. Like the image, there's no gap between this text and this here. There's space there. It's not consistent. If ever you need this and all the spacing needs to be exactly the same, that's what I like using the grid flow for. Just consistent spacing throughout the entire thing. Yeah, that's what I like using that for. It probably looks better if we're at a smaller size. It does make it a grid, so this is stretching across the side or the length. So then it's like, do you, by default, actually, because that's grid flow, I had different ways of doing this, but this would actually, that's up in my layout. With a grid flow, because you want it to be like regular, as similar to regular flow content as possible, you'd probably want to do a justify items of start. Is that the right one? It is. Okay. I always feel weird doing justify items, but with grid, that's what you want to do, just so it keeps things a bit more of like the natural way of working. So yeah, that's what I like using that for. And then just having this as an undefined custom property that's being overwritten just makes it easier to make changes to it later on. I see someone mentioning the lobotomized owl. That was my next one, which I was going to do, which is just the regular flow. And that one is the lobotomized owl, star plus star, because you don't always want this type of flow content. Sometimes you want flow content with where you do want differences in size. And that's one of the reasons, actually, I've been using this a lot less than I used to, because I used to nuke all my margins. I would take all the margins off and then use my flow class to bring them back in. It's a little bit, I think, like Tailwind has the pros class, right? It's not quite the same, but where's the selector for the margins? Sorry, we have a lot of stuff here. Oh, here. So because this, a lot of them we do a margin 0 and remove all the margins. The advantage with that is like we actually still have spacing between stuff. So if you're doing content heavy websites, it makes sense to keep that spacing there and only taking it off on one side, which traditionally I would do more with the flow class, where this is selecting let's just background. Background is, we'll do lime. And let's put that on, we'll do that on our UL, just so we can see what's working. So we'll get a background on everything except for the first link. The first link's not getting it because this is selecting every direct child except for the first child. The reason we do it with this is called the lobotomized owl. That was Hayden Pickering who termed that. The reason this is good is because there's no specificity for it, so it won't get in the way of other things if ever you do need to overwrite it. But instead of doing a background, you would usually just do a margin top, or we'll do a block start because we're using logical properties, and then do something like var, and then this would be flow space of 1M. And you use M here instead of rem because you want it to be based on the font size. Because when you have things that are, you have a heading, and this is the advantage of doing it with a block start. So it's the margin on the top. In this, it just fits better with typography. So if I come down here, let's just wrap this in a div so I can show you what's actually going on. I'll probably exaggerate it, but here is more text. And that div will get a class is equal to flow on it. So if we take that type of approach and we scroll down, so here we have my reset. Sure, this is the best example though. This, you can see it happening here where the space on top of the heading is bigger than the space after, because the space is 1M. The margin top for this is 1M and the margin for this is 1M, but this text is bigger than this text. So the margin on this text is bigger than the other one. Lots of saying this text and this text over and over again there. So hopefully it's clear what the difference between the two of them is on that. But yeah, so this is if you want regular flow text, if an article, blog posts, anything like that, this makes a lot more sense. But when you have cards and other stuff where you want consistent spacing that doesn't change, I've been doing it with something like that. Azam, the beginning 15 minutes was just me going through and stealing stuff from Andy's newest version. All right. Let me see if I can find my Notion file again, because that was something I wanted to include. Oh, another thing I like to include in the layout, we'll do it here, is a grid auto flow. And then I have questions for you guys that I want answers on. Display grid and a grid template columns of var, of a repeat auto fit. And then here it would be a min with a var of grid auto fit. Auto flow. This should be auto fit. Auto fit. This is a long declaration. Grid auto fit min column size, comma. Do we do a fallback? No, we won't do a fallback. We'll just say that 100% 1FR. Did I muck that up? I always muck this up when I do it. So we're going to have to test to see if that worked. And then here we can say that our grid auto fit min column size is, I don't know, 350 pixels. And now we need to test it. So let's come down to the bottom and say card that will also be our grid. Grid flow times 10. Inside each one of those will be an H2 plus, with lorem inside of it, and plus a paragraph times 3 with lorem 10. It worked. I'm never sure when I do that how it's going to work. Okay, so, and that would be a grid auto fit. And come all the way down. I should have done that from the beginning, but I didn't. And I didn't get it right. I never get it right when I do it the long way like that. I always have to do it in pieces. and then make sure. Okay, so let's see if, so the repeat is okay. Auto fit is okay. Oh, I know what it is. I need a min max. Min max. I sort of thought it was wrong because I know that there should be two parentheses there. And I'm like, oh, I made a mistake somewhere. It's still not working. Oh, it is working. Ah, fantastic. Just this is too big. 150, 250, 200. And we should put a gap here too. There we go. Perfect. Cool. So I use these in my projects all the time. So just having this floating around waiting for me to use is always a good thing. We do have has. We could do some interesting stuff with those. Flow has star plus. Oh, do it with the block end. Yeah, you could do it that way, and that would work. The min for the min max is if I take the min off from here, and let's make this a bit bigger, we'll say 400. If this number's kind of big, when you get to the smaller screen sizes, it will introduce horizontal scrolling because the minimum size of the column is 400. So by making this really kind of convoluted looking and putting a min here like this, it's either going to stop at the 200 or whatever this value is. But if the parent is smaller than this value, then it will match the width of the parent instead. So it just prevents any potential overflow issues along the way. Cool. Okay. So that's a good one to have. I also like having a flex group. The flex group is one that I do. This is for the this one we could do like a gap here too, like grid autoflow gap, but we have the gap here, so I don't really like. It's easy enough to change. If it's something that would be like, would you change it as an inline style somewhere? I'm not sure. So this potentially could become a custom property too, though. And this is really long, but the more stuff I've done, I find we'll do it as a fit gap. The more stuff I've done, I've run into too many conflicting custom property names that I just prefix with the class name now, and it prevents that from being an issue. I guess scope could potentially be something that could prevent that from happening, but I'm not about to start getting into scope right now. And then here we could do our var and then copy it because I don't feel like typing all that out again. So yeah, I think that's enough for that one. The flex group one is a little bit more complicated because with a flex group, display flex, we're going to use this on our navigation thing at the top we made. Gap, once again, we'll eventually turn that into a custom property. And I like doing a flex wrap on that. And then we can, whoops, I always do this in CodePen. If we go and find this, our nav list, instead of a flow, let's make this one a flex group. And we get the items go next to each other because they're display flex, but if they run out of room, they wrap down because without the wrap, they won't wrap down. The only thing is like flex groups can be used in so many different places that you probably want some controls and different things that you want to change on them, right? And it's one of those things I don't like having necessarily utility classes for everything, but I wouldn't mind. Oh, yeah, can I pin? I don't know how pinning works in CodePen. I'm in presentation mode now, so I can't see anything. Oh, can I pin a message? Let's see. I can pin a message. Thank you for the thought. There's a pinned message now with a link to the CodePen in YouTube. I don't know if I can do that in... Oh, I can pin messages there too. If somebody posts the link in... Oh, I found it. I'll pin that in Twitch as well. Oops, nope. I don't know if it worked or not. It might have worked. I'm getting something went wrong now. All right. So yeah, the problem here that I've always run into is just all the different permutations that you can have for alignment. I do think it makes sense as a default. So here we can do a align items and then do a var flex group align. Do we want align items? Like, do we want to write the whole thing out, or does it make more sense to have it like this? Maybe alignment, and then we do center alignment and just have center as a default. Even here, like I'm putting these up here. These are sort of default values. I could just have those as fallbacks. I don't know what the best thing to do is for that. So if anybody has opinions on that, let me know. But we could do this. So by default, to be center aligned. Then we could do a, what else was I thinking? Oh, for the gap even, it is kind of useful for the row and like the two gaps to be separate. So we could do this as a var flex group row gap, and then var flex group column gap, because I actually often prefer this one being a little bit smaller, because I find visually speaking, it looks like if we make each one of these 2, I'm hoping it's not under my head right now. No, we're okay. If they're 2, like the 2 this way looks visually a lot smaller than it does horizontally. Vertically, the horizontal looks smaller than the vertical. So I like separating these because a lot of the time I'll have the row is half the size of what I have here, but that's not always consistent. But like there, with this being a 2 and that being a 1, it just looks more visually balanced, even though the 2 is bigger. So I do like, maybe even we'll put 0.5 as the default there, just because I find it works better. Next, what else oh, we have, so that's the align. We have a justify too, right? Flex group. I'm doing it though. Justify content var. I'm sort of reinventing at this point a little bit of what Adam's done with open props. Not quite, but a little bit different in style. But flex group justification, and then that could be start as the default, just because I think that's, do people want start for justify content? Probably. I mean, I think that is just the default anyway, but it would be something that you could change it. So if you do want to change your justification, it's nice and easy to do, and it pushes it over. I don't know. Let me know what you think about like this type of thing. The wrap, for me, if it's a flex group, it should always be wrapping. Maybe I'd want to be able to turn that off. I don't know. Yeah. My custom properties are almost bemmable. It's true. But yeah, and even like for space between, I was trying to think of something else, but I don't know if it's worth creating a flex group for, like, for me, flex grouping things are always sort of together, and I would only use this for limited scopes anyway. So I don't know if I'm making it into something that's more adjustable than it needs to be. That's the other thing along the way. Yeah, I think I'll leave that one like that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. That was sort of the main pieces I wanted to cover as a bit of a starting point, just to have some, like, when you start the project. I don't know if it's worth having some colors set up. I don't know if it's worth having, I have some colors that I could grab, but I don't know if it's worth having colors set up or not as like a default that you then come and customize. But like, I find every project is so annoying. Like you end up adjusting all your colors anyway. I don't want to do things like, I want things that could just be used and you'd make some adjustments to, and then you'd sort of dive into the project. That's why it's more than just a reset. So I don't even know what I'll call this once I'm done with it. So if anyone has any suggestions, it's sort of a jumping off point or a starting point that it could definitely be built out upon from here, because there's a lot more that we could do. But yeah, if anybody has any ideas of other stuff that should be in here, please do let me know. because I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. I was thinking I might come across a few things along the way. I will say, if you're going to do anything, oops, let's keep on going. There's a few, just want to say quickly for people who missed some stuff, there are some progressive enhancements in here. And I'm not sure about having this in as a default or not. And this is like the best new progressive enhancement possible. CSS Starter Kit, that's a good name for it. And like for a starter kit, should it include other stuff, right? I don't know. I don't want it to be too heavy-handed, but at the same time, you want to have all like the useful things in there. Table border collapse and spacing. I guess it's because I don't use a lot of tables, but yeah, that's something we could definitely include. Table border. Where would I put that? Probably here would actually make. No, I had a table base. Oh no, that wasn't text area. Did I have something table based? I did. We had that TD selector for. Sorry if I'm scrolling a lot, and I know it's a bit janky on the stream today. We could do it here. Von Tower, the flex min width 0. Yeah, I would never do that as like B1 mentioned. I made a video and the problems that causes. Put it on the thing. You could actually, we could do that though. We could include it in here, just not everywhere. Because I think doing it everywhere is problematic. And I wish I had time for it, but yeah, is there anything else you do on the table other than just the border collapse? It's collapse, right? Is that the whole thing? I do it so infrequently. So yeah, the min width thing you could do. Where's our here? I don't know if selects inputs. Definitely, you could do an input of min width 0. I don't think that would ever cause any problems. Even then, though, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think in my video. I don't think I would include that. Because I like handling it differently based on what's actually happening. Because if the input's getting so small, because the smallest size on an input's not that big, sometimes you want to do things in a different way. So I don't know if I'd want to include that here or not. I'm not going to, just because, yeah, I think I'd like to know that there's a problem and I know how to solve it. What's the advantage of using the grid layout over containers? The main reason I like it is obviously it's a lot more CSS to set it up. But let's say here on that card that I have, where's the card? I could say this is I'd use the generated class names, so I don't remember what they are. It's different from what I usually do. I probably wouldn't do that, but is it just narrow, my narrow one? It is. So I could just come on this card and I could just say it's narrow and it's going to go and become narrow. Or I could say that it's my, we could say narrow and content, let's say wide end, or not even wide end. Is that going to work? Yeah, I think it did. Or a full width end and like pull it all the way to the edge. Is that going to work? Ooh, it didn't want to work there. Anyway, there's ways of getting that to work. I'll have to dive in there to see why that didn't want to work. But just being able to come here and say full width. Excuse me. There we go. At least that one worked. And then look, because the full width was set up properly, the content in the full width is still lining up with my other content. And there's a few other things. Oh, it's not lining up that way. I'll have to look into why that is. Anyway, I'll dive in that and play with it a little bit before I officially release it. But yeah, just being able to come on elements without having to open and close grids all the time. I just have my layout, my stuff in my layout, and then I can control where it is on my layout. I think is useful. Gary's here. Hey, Gary, how are you doing? Border spacing 0. But that is ineffective when having border collapse. So yeah, you've Jenny, that's exactly, here, I'll just show you an example of how I have it set up. Let's just come down to my, if I do inverse background, it's not a real inverse, we'll do Dodger blue, dot, just so we can really see it, Dodger blue, and color is white. So if I come down onto this one, or here, I have my hello world. Where's hello? No, we'll do a bit further down. We'll do, or we can just do it on this whole fleck, this div I have here. I can say this is full width and inverse. And then I get the different background color on it. And yeah, there, this is working properly now. And it has the full width background. It has the background color without having to close my old container, open a new container, set a background color, all of those things. It's all living on that grid. And then I'm just placing things on the grid where I need to. And then I can come on something in here. I have a wide here. We can make this a narrow. And then which one was that set up on? So this paragraph here is now living in the narrow space compared to where the other stuff was living before. So it just gives me you get a lot more control on how you can set things up and living in the grid without having to open and close things all the time. That's why I like it. In the end, it's the same type of thing. One of them is more work in the HTML, one of them is more work in the CSS. But the way I see it is, if the work is in the CSS, you do it once and it's done. Whereas if you're doing it in the HTML, you're constantly having to update it all the time. Yeah, Pody, if anybody's watching this and they're not using Grid because of browser support, I guarantee you're using a lot of other things that have worse browser support than Grid does. I tend to use System UI as a default for my fonts all the time because it always looks good. So yeah, I'm gonna save this file. Actually, let's change it back to pen. This is not finished. We'll put work in progress comment at the top here. It needs to be cleaned up a bit. This is a work in progress. So use it as you will. Take it and break it apart and do what you want with it. If you make any major changes or upgrades, just let me know. You can fork the pen, save it, do what you want with it. Take the parts you like, get rid of the other things you don't like, or whatever you want. Yeah. If you do anything cool, let me know. Or if you think of any other things that could be added to it, also let me know, because I'd definitely be willing to add a few things to it. Since we're here, I will mention once again, or my wife will get mad at me because I'm not a good marketer, but my course Beyond CSS is currently for sale. The top tier's 22% off for this week only. So just really quickly, once again, what's included in the course, it covers the fundamentals of Sass because it's Beyond CSS. We're doing a bit more. Then it goes into adding logic using loops and other things, if statements. We're generating a lot of classes, talk about architecture, build processes. Along the way, we're using Vite, we're using Post CSS and some other tools. We're creating a starting template, sort of like what we did today, but with a bit more to it. It's a bit easier to customize, in my opinion, because we're using Sass tokens, so they're sort of in a different place, but a little bit of the same idea for a starting template at the beginning. Then dive into building that out a little bit more to create some design systems, get into the idea of theming and everything else that we can do. And then this just released today. It's been out for a while now, but the final lessons are there. I still have a little bit of cleaning up to do in the course. There's a couple videos, I think in the middle lessons, there's 1 or 2 that are missing. But everything is basically there. So yeah, the module 5, we're taking everything, building out an Astro project, using scope styling with everything that we were doing before, seeing how they can work together, and then hooking it up with a headless CMS, which is Tina CMS. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I will once again put the links in the chat. And if not, no big deal. But if those are the types of things you would be interested in, you can check it out and see if you'd like it or not. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. It's this week the sale is going on. Then after that, it will jump back up to its full price. And I think that's about it for me today. I think a photo of the potato. Yeah. Okay, 1 second. I'll get it. I can make this into somebody in the Twitch. Mark was saying in the Twitch chat to post a photo of it in the Discord, but here it is. I don't know if we can see it. I can't see myself right now. Yeah, there you go. Is that going to focus? Nope. There we go. Sub to Kev. Anyone who missed that at the beginning, my son made it for me like a year ago, and he wanted to make sure that everybody saw it. So there we go. Yeah, maybe I'll see if I can turn that into an emoji or something that we could use. Thank you all for coming and hanging out with me. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed and maybe learned a couple of things along the way. And I'll be back next month with another live stream at one point. Gary. Yeah, but I'll be back with another live stream in about a month. If you have any ideas for what you'd like to see on a live stream, just let me know. And I think that's about it. Oh, you got my we got a good shot at the end there. So with that, I'm going to switch on over and say bye to everybody, and I'll see you next time.